Hi, I'm Liam from Naked Zombie Radio, and tonight I'm here with Brad, and we're at Bellevue Homestead, all the way out at Caminia, outside of Ipswich, to do a bit of a walkthrough. We've got heaps and heaps of history to give to you tonight, as well as a couple of ghost stories, and we'll also be walking through the house and having a look for ourselves. But come on, Brad, jump in here and get on shot.
No friggin' way, dude.
Come on.
No, dude, there's a doll. I hate dolls. You know, I don't like them.
There's another spare spot.
No, seriously, look, dude, no way. Look, I'm not even coming anywhere near that thing.
Come on.
Yeah, right. I'm not touching that thing. No. We'll do the intro somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't want to do the doll. No. Get stuff.
Let's get it underway. Okay. This is our second intro. We're going to have another crack at it.
No. What is wrong with you?
Come on, Brad.
Look at it. It's like a zombie thing. No.
It's mostly bear.
Dude, no, I'm out of here, dude. I've had enough. You and your friggin' intros. I'm going somewhere else.
God, professionalism. Intro take 3. We're going to try this again. So, Brad, quick, jump over behind me and we'll kick this one off.
You sure the thing's not going to move?
No, it's all right, this one.
You sure?
Yeah, I had a chat before.
It looks like it's about to crawl across the bed and bite me. Look at it. It's freaking like just look at it going. Look at the thing. Look, it's just. It's demonic, dude.
It's.
All right. I'll come around to the intro with you. All right. Yeah. Okay. You sad man. All right. You owe me big time, dude. Oh. Hang on. G'day, Brad here from Naked Zombie Radio, and joining me is Liam. And of course, as you know, we're at Bellevue Homestead for the fantastic investigation and history lesson. Don't forget the history lesson.
That's right, history's the most important.
So everyone out there, you've got to realise that when you're doing this sort of thing, do your homework first and do your history. So what we've got John, who's going to take us a bit of a walk through the house and tell us a bit about it and what's happened. And then we've got a wonderful story about the ghosts that are meant to be haunting this location.
We do.
And that's from Thelma. She's a lovely lady. So we're going to take a bit of a walk through after you've checked them all out and see what they've had to say, and we'll do our own thing. So join us for another episode of the Naked Zombie Radio.
It is time, once again, to lock your doors, shut your windows, strap yourself into your favourite comfy chair, and tune out and tune into the Naked Zombie.
Well, welcome to Bellevue, and most of our visitors know a couple of things about Bellevue before they come. One is that everything that you see here has been moved from the banks of the Brisbane River, another 7 kilometres further north of here, and the other is that it was moved by the National Trust and restored by the National Trust over a 25-year period. And the history of the place goes back to the 1840s. It was originally registered as a New South Wales property, and it was settled around about 1842, something like that, and there was still a convict colony going in Moreton Bay at the time, but people knew it was going to close and open for free settlers. And like the Leslie brothers with their sheep over the Blue Mountains and up the Great Dividing Range, they all came as sheep flocks up here from New South Wales, and came down the Lockyer Valley in this valley. And the first people in this valley were the McConnells at Toogoolawah, who is still there, 5th generation. And this property here was called Wivenhoe, where the name of the dam comes from. It was the second last one prior to Ipswich, and you couldn't go within 60 miles of the convict colony that included Ipswich. So we're about 50 kilometres from Ipswich here, and about 85 from Brisbane. The people who came sort of staked their claim, and they were squatters, and it was later on that they became officially registered as leaseholders, and it was a partnership. here, two families lived in slab huts on the two halves of the property, and this western half became called Bellevue eventually after subsequent owners. And the slab hut that they lived in is still here as part of the old kitchen, and the place just sort of grew from there over the years. The style of the buildings is typical of the time that they were built. These particular buildings here, there's actually three dwellings, three houses here, and a service wing. And these first two buildings that we're in at the moment are called colonial style. They just had white posts around an open veranda, and all the rooms opened out onto the veranda, and you just walked straight up onto the veranda. They've been modified a couple of times in line with the third house here that was built in 1903, and it's got the features of a Federation house, so we'll have a look at that as we go through. This particular building that we're in here now is the middle building. The one on my left is originally was the manager's residence, and then it became the governess's residence when they built a veranda section. And in the middle of the veranda is a classroom where she taught the children, and there are two guest bedrooms at the end of the veranda. And this building here behind me is the family home, and it was a very simple design. It is a square building, had a veranda on all four sides originally, but they filled in the side verandas. There's a central corridor here and two rooms off each side of the corridor. So there's 4 rooms, 3 bedrooms and a sitting room. All equal size, and there are no services or facilities in this family home or the third house, which is the guest house. And you have to be looked after if you lived in these two, and in their heyday they had 30 staff working for them, so it was quite a big community that was looked after here. And there are 2 buildings missing that didn't come up from their heyday. Round about the 1900s is the restoration date for this, and during that period they had single staff accommodation at the property, at the original property that's no longer here. And they had a maid's quarters, which was at the end of the veranda, and outside the picket fence was a farmhand's quarters. The couple of features before we go inside, this has got a shingle roof still underneath the galvanised iron. You'll see some gas fittings as you go round. They made acetylene gas from carbide before they generated their own electricity. And the other thing to note here on the outside is how thick the walls are. Originally these walls were earthen walls, compressed earth, and in the original location they were very close to the river and went under in several floods, particularly the 1893 flood. There were 2 floods a week apart and washed that mud all away. And then they boarded the outside with cedar, and we'll see what happened on the interior side when we go inside. All right, we'll do that now.
Frogs. Hey, frogs. Love the frogs. All
Yeah,
right,
you got a bit of background there.
That's fine. So I'm going to get you to pick that up and cut, and we're going to follow you in the next room and put it down. And we'll see I'll speed up that section. So it's just sort of.
Okay.
So it looks like you see for me.
Okay.
Brilliant. Just follow.
We'll turn lights on.
No, maybe more. That's fine.
Okay.
Actually, I can't turn this one on. So switch this in.
No.
No shit. There we go. Beautiful. Cut that down a bit. I still need a light on. So you can stand back there if you want, mate. Is that too bright for you?
No, that's fine.
So just back a bit.
It's excellent with all the photos.
It is excellent full of photos. Alright, mate. What room is this?
Well, this is one of the bedrooms, but the National Trust made it a document room, so it's got some records in here, and all these photos that you can see here were at the original site, taken at the original site. But before we look at those, you can look at the boards behind, which are rough cut pine, and these were put up after the flood, and if you can see the posts in the corner and the studs at the door have got white mud on from the flood, so there's a remnant of the flood still there. And the National Trust did the restoration from the far end of the house down to this end, so this room is only halfway through, and same with the bedroom next door. So they sort of 90% did the restoration. But we might leave this room because it's quite interesting to see the treatment of the walls. This is rough cut pine, deliberately leaving the gaps between the pine boards. Hessian was nailed on the pine and wallpaper glued to the Hessian. The original wallpaper is above that picture rail, and you can see where they've cut it off underneath the picture rail. So that wallpaper came down over this section here. But if we have a look at these photographs, here's the location where they were originally, down by the river. So they were very close to the river, and I don't think anybody would build there now, even with all the dams in place. But this particular location here is next to Logan's Inlet and Logan Creek, where Captain Logan, the cruel commandant of Moreton Bay, was killed, just in this section up in here, about 10 years before Bellevue was established at that location. Well, this photo here was taken in 1910, which was their heyday. They had a Hereford stud. They had 10 farm hands. You can see most of those there. They had the first car in the district. This is a Rolls-Royce Tourer. They had a chauffeur. The family's all dressed up in their furs and hats for the Sunday outing. And all these buildings have survived and have been moved from that location up to this. And this location here is actually the entrance to the original property. And the town of Caminia that we're right in the middle of was originally called Bellevue. It was the service centre for this property, with goods coming in and out. And when the Queensland government took over from the New South Wales government, they resumed half of these grazing properties down this valley and gave assisted passages to migrant farmers to increase the population of Queensland and grow the food for the new population in Queensland. And that happened just on the other side of the road in front of us. And they're now small properties like orchards and horse properties and so on. The bit that was kept as grazing country was all the bit around the Brisbane River, and it's still in that same condition after 150 years. It hasn't changed. But the railway line and the main road came up between the farming area and the grazing area. So that's just the section just in front of our house. All these buildings here came up with the exception of that building, which was the maids' quarters, and we don't know whether that was removed somewhere else or had fallen into disrepair. When they came up, it was just after the 1974 flood when they decided to build the Wivenhoe Dam. And so they started the removal in 1975 because otherwise the house would have gone underwater. But at that stage they had sold the Hereford stud. They didn't have all the staff. It was just back to a family cattle farm again. Here's all the staff with their families out in the bush having a bush picnic. So it was quite a large little community that was looked after on the property. And there's quite a few children sitting down the front who would have got taught by the governess in this classroom here. The local school just had its centenary a couple of weeks ago, so it started in 1912. Prior to that, they would have had to educate the children and possibly the staff as well here. These are the best known owners, these two, particularly this lady. She was born Edith Maud Harris in Newstead House in Brisbane, and her father had bought Newstead from Captain Wickham when he went back at the end of it being New South Wales and changing over to Queensland. He was a government representative up here and thought he was going to become the first governor, and Bowen was appointed instead, and so he sold his house to Harris. Harris was a trader, had a couple of sailing ships that went up and down the Queensland coast and up the Brisbane River, and he travelled up as far as Ipswich, and he married the daughter of George Thorne, that's the storekeeper, the shopkeeper at Ipswich, who was born in Claremont there. Another heritage listed place the National Trust did up like this one and sold. And so the trader married the shopkeeper's daughter, and there's a Thorne Street there, and Thorne owned most of the land that Toowoomba's on, that Ipswich is on now, and there's a new George Thorne Centre there and so on. And Harris himself had some big warehouses around the countryside and owned quite a lot of property, and Harris Town and Harrisville is named after him, and the streets around Newstead are named after his children. He had 3 daughters and 2 sons, and there's a Maud Street down there at Newstead, which is this daughter, Evelyn Street, her sister. There's an Edmund Street beside the Baroodaman Bowls Club and so on. And he entertained lavishly. All the girls married well. She married the son of James Taylor of Toowoomba, and Taylor was a big landowning politician up there, owned most of the land that Toowoomba is on now. He owned Cecil Plains and lived in Clifford House. And there's a few things named after him. There's a Taylor Mountain up there. Taylor Street goes out to Cecil Plains in Toowoomba, and the Taylor Range down in Brisbane is named after him, and this house faces the Taylor Range. And he bought this property for the newlyweds. They had 3 daughters. These girls lived here for over 20 years. They were taught by the governess. There's a music room here, and their sheet music has been bound with their names and initials on the cover. And their father died quite young, when he was 50, and the daughters were very young. The youngest daughter here in the middle on the donkey was only 18 months old at that stage. And this other chap appears on the scene, Lumley Hill. He was appointed the chairman of the Board of Trustees for this estate because it was still owned by the father-in-law, and then he married the widow, so she became Mrs. Lumley Hill. He brought money into the place, bought the Hereford stud, built the guest house around about the 1900s, so that was really their heyday, and they entertained a lot, sent their stud animals down to the Royal National Show and so on, and won lots of prizes, so they had a very notable Hereford stud. He was 20 years older than she was. He married in 1901, died in 1909 of malaria in the bedroom next door, and then Mrs. Lumley Hill carried on for another 16 years running the whole place herself. Very capable lady, very popular, gave presents to the children in the district and had lots of visitors here. So this was a sort of social centre for the top families in Brisbane, Ipswich and Toowoomba. The Lumley Hill's nephew was the stud manager, and what we've got in this display case here are the stud books that were filled in by Colin Hill, and also there's a pay book where the staff are signing their names, open at the year 1910. This little model that we've got here is a kangaroo gate, or a jump gate. They had 2 of these, one at the front gate and one in the picket fence around the house, and they probably should have more of these. This saves you getting off your horse or out of your car. The road comes through here, and you just lean over and give this a little tug, and you go through the other side and you give that a little tug, and off you go. So very, very easy gate to manoeuvre.
I started here when National Trust owned the property, and the custodians who taught me everything I know were Ron and Janet Whitlow. And Ron was dead determined that old laundry was haunted, and he wouldn't go down there after 4 o'clock of an afternoon. And when we formed the Friends of Bellevue group, if we had a meeting in the next room, that door had to stay closed between. He hated that area. and yet I worked down there constantly with the children for the school activity days, and I never ever saw anything. But we had one incident there when National Trust sold the property, and we had two elderly people, local people, who agreed to come in as interim custodians, and because of the activity day, it was like the washing activity, and we put the washing through the tin tubs and the washboards, etc. And then, of course, in those years, they used to iron on a table with a blanket and a sheet on it. And Joy said to her husband, she said, before I go home, I will go down and change the sheet on that table because it's a bit dusty, that area. Well, she went down to do it, took all the irons off, and she put the blanket back on and put the clean sheet on, and then her husband came to the door and said she was wanted on the phone. And so she came and answered the phone, and then they went home and she forgot about the sheet, that she hadn't tucked it all in underneath and put the few irons, the old irons, back on it. Well, the next morning when she came in, the sheet was neatly tucked all in around the blanket and all the irons were in place. And she phoned me to ask me had I been in, because I had keys to the property, and so that was a mystery down there. But I never ever saw anything, but Ron hated that area down there. So that was the old laundry. And then on the back veranda, just at the end of this breezeway here, there was a bathroom block which was built for a visit for the Prince of Wales, and that would have been probably in the 1920s. But people hate that area. So many people, they don't like that area out there where that bathroom is. And we had visitors used to come to visit the custodians, and their little daughter always wanted to use the toilet out there, and her father didn't like the area either, and he said to her, why do I always have to take you to that toilet? She said, because Daddy, I talked to the man in the hat. And the story about the man in the hat was that the people who came to work, the stockman people, because they were so far away from the little town area, they were not allowed to take alcohol on the property, but they could take their own condiments. And so this chap went to work, and he had his box of black sauce and condiments, and went out the first day and came back, and the men asked him, what did you think? And he said, oh yes, it's a good place to work, and you've given me a good horse and all the rest of it. And so then the next day he went out, and in the late afternoon the horse came back without him, and they couldn't find him. They searched all around the paddocks and everywhere, and they couldn't find him. And that night Mrs. Lumley Hill was woken in her bedroom there by something shaking her bed, and when she looked up she could see a vision of this fellow with a hat on, and he appeared to be wet, looked like he was wet. So when she got up out of bed, she told Mr. Lumley Hill the story, and he said to the guys, go down and look again, search again for him, and look along the river. And that's where they found him. The horse had stumbled, he'd fallen off into the river and got caught under a log. But when they went to pack up all of his gear, they found out that all the bottles of condiments were full of grog. He tipped the condiments out, filled his bottles up with grog. So he must have got nicely the first time out. And then when he went out the second day, he was drowned in the river. So that ghost is supposed to be the resident ghost. Now, and that's who little Keely used to talk to in the toilet, the man in the hat. Another day, a custodian who came to work after National Trust had sold the property, and we were sitting out on the front veranda waiting for a bus tour, and this lady said to me, who was that fellow who walked up the veranda there? I said, I never saw anybody. And she said, yes, a man walked up along there. She said he had a big hat on. So there was another story of the man in the hat. And then when those two custodians left, there was some other people came in, and they lasted for a month. and every night this lady got woken up by her bed being shaken, and she blamed the man in the hat. So he apparently was the resident ghost. That's the story of the resident ghost. But anyway, when we got into the children's bedroom, because it used to be side verandas, and then Mr. Lumley Hill put archways in, opened the verandas, you know, up, opened the area up. And there was another area that Ron Whitlow, he hated it, and he said, no, there's something evil in there. So one day we had this bus tour coming in, and there was about 51 people coming on the bus or something. And when I got here, the Ross, who was the husband of the lady that had seen the man in the hat, he said to me, I've got to change some electric light bulbs in the property. And one was in this archway here, in this room. One was in the children's bedroom. So I said, oh, rightio. So I turned the main switchboard off in behind the door, and he replaced the one here in the withdrawing room, and it all lit up nice and bright, so that was okay. We went into the next room, and he got up on the ladder and he took the old bulb out, put the new one in. He said, righto, turn it on. I turned it on, and the bulb blew. And that happened 2 or 3 times. So he went away somewhere and he got another bulb, and when he brought it back in, oh, it all lit up. It's all nice and bright. So he said, right, now after all that, I'm going out to have a smoke before the bus comes. Well, when he finished his smoke, for some reason he walked back through the breezeway here in this old section, and he came back with a strange look on his face, and he said, that bulb's gone. I said, what do you mean gone? Oh, I said, you mean it's blown again? No, he said, it's gone. I said, don't be silly, you've just put it in there. Can't be gone. And we found that bulb up underneath the bed on the carpet, and the filament wasn't blown. So he said, well, whatever's in there doesn't want light can stay in the dark. So we took the tour through in a semi-dark room that one particular day. Then we had another episode in Mrs. Lumley Hill's room in later years, and that was when the National Trust sold the property in 2003, and the owners had custodian that lived in the quarters, and she used to talk about ghosts all the time. That's, you know, she used to really promote the ghosts. And this particular day, another friend, and the lady she was with was a personal friend of mine, and she told me the story, and she said that she'd come up to pick up some craft work, and they were having a cup of coffee over in the quarters, and some visitors came. So the custodian said, well, I'll take them through, you go and get your craft work. And they heard this big commotion just before the visitors came. They'd heard a heck of a big commotion in this old section, but they didn't know what had caused it, because, you know, it was a bit of a windy day, and these old homes, they've got a lot of creaks and noises and things. However, when she went to take the group through, and she got into Mrs. Lumley Hill's room, into what was their vanity room, not vanity, modesty room, thank you. And all the curtains had been pulled down and were thrown on the floor. The hip bath was overturned, the towel rack was thrown away. All the schmozzle went on in there. So that was another incident in there. And then just this year, recently, when John and Laurel were away overseas, I came in each Sunday, because it's only open on a Sunday to the public. I came in to open up and look after the place and take people through. And I had some funny incidents, and one of them was that when I came in one morning, the blind right beside where that hip bath is was pulled right down, right on the floor. It was unrolled and pulled right to the floor, and that wasn't how I'd left it. And then that same day, I had blinds in some other rooms which had gone up and stopped. They weren't down where I'd left them, because we always close the blinds before we leave. So, you know, funny things had happened while John and Laura were away this year. They'd left the money tin in the commercial kitchen, and the first lot of visitors I had, the gentleman said to me, well, it's, you know, $10 per person, and he had a $50 note. Well, when I went to get change, there was only coins in the money tin. So I said to him, oh, look, I'll just take some change out of my bag and I'll fix it up at the end of the day, which I did. Then the next time I came in, so I didn't use the money tin, but I didn't leave it on the table in the middle of the room. I put it over on the side bench behind the microwave, where if you went, anybody that came to the door wouldn't be able to see it. And it was there for a couple of weeks, because I think John and Laura were away for 5 weeks. It was there for a couple of weeks, and then I came in and I realised that the money tin was gone. It had not there. Well, I felt terrible because I was responsible and I didn't really know how much coinage was in there, and I couldn't find it. So when John and Laurel came home, I told him, I said, somehow I've lost the money tin. I don't know where, I can't remember putting it anywhere else. It was definitely there. A week later he rings me up and he said, oh, we found that money tin. I said, where was it? He said, it was in our quarters. He said, you must have left it on the kitchen table in our quarters. I said, I had no access to your quarters, and nor did the other caretaker that was looking after the animals. So how that money tin got from a locked up commercial kitchen across the pathway into their locked up kitchen, which we had no access to. And then at that same time, while they were away, because they had left some tables, like they serve the morning teas and things out there, and they had left a couple of tables set so that if anybody did hop the fence and come in sticky beaking, they'd think, oh, well, they must be here because the tables are set. So I unset the tables and I took all the cloths and serviettes and things home to wash. And when I came in the next Sunday, there were glasses, a couple of glasses and a teaspoon and a saucer, a couple of cups at various tables. Still a mystery to us how they got there. Absolute mystery. So that was, you know, some of the funny things that have happened to me just in the time that I've been here.
So going back now, from the first, when the house was originally moved to this location, after everything was flooded down the other end to make the dam, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yes, that's right.
Was there any stories regarding previous to the house that where there was deaths or something like that in the house?
There was a rumour that at some stage one of the maids had been murdered and her body was found in there, in that area near where the hip bath is. But I can't confirm that. But that was a rumour. And then another day too, the door, one of the doors, and this area in the formal dining room, the door had, like after we had a robbery, Ray was given permission to put bolts at the top of the windows so that you had to take the bolts out before you could open them. And this particular custodian that used to talk about all the ghosts all the time, she was still here then, and she didn't open the window, that like the door, they go up into a doorway or you can make them into a window. And she didn't open that, but a couple of hours later, the other lady who used to come in and look after the morning teas and that, she walked through and those barrel bolts, or not barrel bolts, but bolts, they were on the floor and that door was about that far off the floor. And nobody, only the people who worked here would have known about those bolts. So, yeah, we've had some funny little incidents. But, you know, as I said, Laurel and I are still waiting to see a spirit. But I don't doubt that they're here. It's an old home. And I've never experienced anything because I'm not susceptible to them. But a lot of people are. And they can come into a room and they can say, oh, this is a cold room, or they'll take one look at the door and take off. I've got another friend here. She got to the bedroom door there and she could see an evil-looking person standing over in the corner, and she took off and she never ever has seen the rest of the home. So there you go. It's, you know, I think there's things to be said about it. You know, events get recorded in walls, and when the full moon shines, they bring it out like a tape recorder. and I firmly believe that there are spirits in the property, but they're friendly to me.
And that's the main thing, isn't it?
It is when you're working here on your own, and it doesn't bother me. You know, like I said, I'm more frightened of the green frogs.
Well, thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Okay.
Well, there you go, guys. We're at the homestead here now. You've seen the interviews and everything like that, which are really cool. Now, we're going to do our own little thing now. What we're doing different is we're not actually using a lot of equipment, as in millimeters or K2 meters or any sort of meter, really. All we're going to use is basically a video camera, as you see here. We're going to use... what else are we using? A voice recorder and a normal still camera. And we're going to actually set up a static camera here in the evil doll's room. Oh, I hate this. I hate dolls. Anyway, so what are you doing, dude?
Okay, so I'm just going to pop just a static cam in here, because there's a lot of stories of weird goings on that happen in here, and we'll just pop that down with a couple of IR lights and we'll turn the light off and we'll shut this room down. So
Cool. You're going to face it on those dolls or what?
where should we pop it?
On the dolls, dude.
On the dolls?
That thing's just awful.
Let's see.
You can see we're using the most modern sort of technology here doing this. Where's all the IR cameras, man?
So find a better place for it. What about over here?
So basically what we're doing is just set up these cameras so we can actually see if anything does actually happen tonight in this room. Now we're going to switch it all off. We've got a little couple of IR illuminators as well. We're going to try out and see where it takes us on that one.
So that looks good to me.
Looks good to you? We'll show you some of the footage as we go through it tonight as well. Those actually are illuminators, aren't they?
They are.
They are, cool. So we're going to turn the light off this room and we're going to check it out. We're going to check out some of these other really cool rooms that we've seen before. Lights out here, dude. Right.
Where have we got the light switch?
Light switch over here. Hang on, let me just double check that. Not that one. 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 That one. There we got it. So there we go. We got the bit hard to see. It's a bit dark.
I'll just shut this for a minute, just make sure everything's
Yeah, you're right, son. All right, yeah. Don't get too comfy with those dolls. I bet he doesn't come back. Seriously, I bet those things are going to rip his face off during the night. Oh, they're creepy ass things, aren't they? You alright in there? You haven't been possessed yet, have you?
Not yet.
But you're working on it. Dum 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 dum. All good?
It's rolling.
It's rolling. So we're going to show you that footage a bit later on the short thing. So what we're going to do is now, we're going to walk around with the camera, aren't we, mate?
We are?
We are.
We go for a wander.
You go for a wander and check out talk about these cool locations, had some spooky stuff happening.
That's right.
Because we're two men tonight, you want to grab the tripod?
I can do that.
I'll take the camera, even though I'm on a walking stick. See this? This is what happens when you take on a crowbar with your leg. Oh, you want me to go first? We're going together. Okay, so basically we talked about the actual the toy room, well, the kids before. Now, what was the story behind that, mate?
Behind the toy room?
Yeah.
Okay, so we heard a story from Thelma. That a couple of years ago, a bulb went in the children's room and needed to be replaced. So they replaced the bulb once and it blew immediately. They replaced the bulb a second time and it blew immediately. And they replaced it a couple of times and it continued to blow until on the fourth or fifth attempt they actually got the bulb to illuminate and didn't blow. The owner then went outside for a cigarette for about 5 minutes and came back in, and the bulb had vanished. Not only had it not blown, but it had disappeared out of the socket. And after a bit of searching around, they actually found the bulb had been removed and tucked up underneath one of the beds and was still in perfect functioning order. So, yeah, very, very bizarre, but apparently a lot of people have had feelings of something malevolent being in that room or some kind of evil presence. So it'll be interesting to see once we get the footage after we've let that run for a while, see if anything actually happens in that room.
These creepy ass dolls.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as you can see, this is the basic technology we're using tonight. Look, we don't place a lot of stuff on. I'll just screw that down a bit so you get an idea. There you go. We don't put a lot of effort into a lot of technology, do we, mate?
That's right.
No, look, we use the very, very basics of all sorts of equipment. So we're not really much into the whole K2s and the millimeters and all the rest of it. I think a lot of it has to do with we just like using the basics. It's easy to carry around, it's easy to work with.
That's right.
Instead of taking buckets a load of equipment that just you spend all your time looking at anyway.
Yeah.
You're so pretty.
Too many batteries to replace.
Oh, by the way, Wadsy gave us a warning tonight too. He said, don't go Brokeback Mountain on him.
Yeah. No handsies.
No handsies. Cool. Alright. So, turn the light on. You can go that far. Make me hum away. Now, another interesting thing that's been noticed is in this room here, they've actually heard music playing in the background. So there's been time when the owners have been in here and everything's been shut up and locked off. And I think it's that piano over there, isn't it?
So I think furthermore into the hallway. So
yeah, so when we fell in the hallway, they had a lot of actually sound of music, like the old style time music, not the modern stuff we hear today, but for the 1940s, early 1900s.
Yeah, early 1900s.
Early 1900s. So a lot of music's been heard around here. So if we pick up anything on this or not, that'd be pretty cool. So if there is anyone here, if you want to play us a few tunes, go for it. There we go. Now this is one of the rooms that John showed us before. This is really, really cool. I mean, he talked a bit about the history and everything like that. We also talked a fact about the amazing architecture and stuff like that. Look, I think it's all very cool. But a lot of events have happened down around here as well. Yeah, I think this is a room where the picture come off, didn't it?
No, that's right. The way
I am so wrong on my history. He's been going a big like, bro, you talk about history, and I've got it all asked about face, haven't I?
You do. You need a GPS.
Give me the camera. Okay, smartass, you tell the story.
I don't think there are any particular stories in this one. It's just a very, very cool room.
It is a cool room anyway. So do you want to take us to where the picture come off?
I do. Come,
let's go. Booze.
All the way through here.
Could you make me walk a bloody long way? You know we could have just gone through that way.
We could.
Ah, now I remember. Oh, by the way, before we go anywhere, you know this is the actual toilet.
It is
that Prince. Who was it? Edwards. Edward. I want to do something like that. Right, this is the royal crapper, as it were. So in this room here, I know we've already done the history side of it, but you know, the Prince himself used this. Come with me. His butt cheeks are here. It's still warm. I can feel it. I am touching where a prince sat to take a dump. It's amazing, isn't it? It's so cool. Well, I have to share it with you now. I've touched raw arse now. But this is a great location. I mean, John has invited us here tonight. Part of Naked Zombie Radio, of course. You know, we very much deal in this type of thing because we love it. You know, it's the history behind it. It's the presence. There could be actual spirits here, and a lot of people do believe that there's been activity in this place for many, many years. So we're going to see if we may not see any, but it'll be interesting to find out the urban legends and the stories behind them. There you go. So we checked out this room before, but if you want to check it out again, I mean, this is cool. I know if you can't quite see, I just light on. But all the roof up in here is actually scored and that from all the fire, and not fire, but from the heat and everything from these old stoves here. But if you think about it this way, folks, where we are now is history. This is, people have walked these boards. You know, people who are long past and deceased have walked through here. It's amazing when you think about it. As part of paranormal researchers, you've got to get to know the place you're dealing with. I mean, there's so much stuff like the pans. I mean, all this stuff could be trigger objects for somebody. We could do an EVP session in here and see what sort of response we get. We can hear the kitchen working away. We're going to do that tonight as well, but we're going to see what first we get on with. So if we catch an EVP tonight, that'd be friggin' wonderful. No, seriously, don't mind the stick. I'm only crippled, you know, so don't feel too bad for it. Don't cry for it, sorry. Now, this is one of the coolest things I've seen at Homestead. This is absolutely magnificent. Now, you sort of wonder, yeah, as part of who actually, that's so cool. You sort of wonder who actually sat down and played this, and do they still play it, you know, when no one's around anymore. It's just, there's no note there, but it's still pretty cool. That's amazing, yeah? So part of being it is the history, and the floorboards are worn from when they had dances where there was over 30 staff here at one stage. So they've been trod in these boards and you can see the grooves in them. Yeah, it's amazing. People dancing here once a month. All the staff get together and just dance around the place. You know, how cool is that? That is pretty exciting stuff. So we're going to check this out as well tonight, but one place we really want to do an EVP session is in here. Now it's a bit dark, you can't quite see. But this is where a lot of the action happened. Yeah. This is the laundry room. But it'd be interesting to see the conversations that took place here in the past and stuff like this. This is one place I really want to check out. I can't thank John enough for letting us come in here tonight, inviting us along. Hello, Mr. Historian. My turn with the camera.
There we go.
There we go. Show me some magic.
Show you some magic?
Show me some magic.
Okay, so the room that we only just visited a moment ago, this is actually the original homestead, or the original slab hut. So this is where the life at Bellevue Homestead all began. So as you can imagine, you would have had all of your kitchen here, and there would have been a bedroom or some kind of sleeping arrangement happening up the other end. And then over the next couple of decades, as the family grew and obviously the money holdings of the family grew, they started to tack bits and pieces onto the house, and with the eventual outcome that we've got this massive residence that we've got here today. So all very exciting. This is the genesis of the place that we're going to have a walk through tonight, which is very, very exciting.
So this is where we're going to do a major EV session, isn't it?
Yep.
We're going to sit down and do it and give it a go now?
I reckon we should.
I reckon we should too. Cool. Well, I guess this is the first point you sort of want to do is, well, we're going to do an EVP session now. Now, the question is, what sort of questions do you ask in an EVP session on a historic location like this? Like, what's the point of saying, are you here? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. It needs to be a bit more site-specific than that.
Sorry, I get sick of hearing that. Another question is, do you know you're dead? I think they probably have a pretty good idea of things. I don't know, that's just my opinion on it. So we're going to do an EVP. We're going to ask some questions that we think may be relevant to this sort of place. And you've been a historian, I'm going to make you look like a goose. Go for it, big boy. Are you here?
I think more poignantly, given one of the stories that we've got of a man in a hat, especially given that he's apparently haunts next to the toilet, which is just outside, might be poignant to ask, is the man in the hat in this area of the house at the moment?
Well, that's the thing. We know that there's a bloke that was one of the stockmen, a horseman that died here because he got on the terps and fell in the drink near the river. And his ghost has been seen here quite a number of times. So, you know, we need to pinpoint him and see if he's at this location. So, to the gentleman who wears the hat, why do you still hang around here? Valid question.
It is.
It is. Why do you still hang around? Why do you think you need to stay? You hear that?
I did.
What the hell was that?
That was like a really faint wailing sound, right?
I don't know if we picked it up, but what we just heard then was like a bit of a wailing. Literally, I don't know if the camera picked it up. We're sitting here and we're looking, talking, and we go, "Is anyone here?" Sort of like, this. It's something of a moan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So hopefully the camera picked it up. I'm not saying it has, but hopefully we picked it up. But that was just weird. It was nice and quiet here. We're the only ones here. Literally, I mean, everyone else is. Well, it's basically we're pretty secluded out in the bush here as well.
Yep. So yeah, set right back from the road as well. So no road noise or
no road noise. There's a lot of crickets and frogs and that around, but you expect that for this type. But it was more like a whine, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was bizarre.
Okay, that's been interesting. Not saying it's a paranormal event at all, but it's just interesting that we got that little bit of that we heard with our ears. You know. So what? Let's ask again. Why do you feel the need to hang around here? I know you're attached to this place. You died here. You obviously know that, but you said, you know, we've heard stories. You strike up conversations with people. You've made yourself be seen numerous times walking past windows and stuff. Would you like to give us some indication you're here now? You know, there's lots of stuff around here, and obviously you frequent this room quite a bit. So you want to move something for us? That's right.
I guess more poignantly, if you are the man in the hat that drowned in the river, there's rumours that you were actually on the Terps at the time, and apparently there was no alcohol allowed on the station, and he'd been smuggling alcohol in. Were you drunk at the time that you drowned in the river?
Because we know you're thrown off your horse. You want to see if you can move something around for us, or give us some indication that you might be here. See, a lot of misconceptions as well is that people think you need to investigate with the light off. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you don't. It looks more spookier, but I personally like to see where I'm walking.
That's right.
when you walk with a walking stick, especially, you don't want to sort of be taking something like going down a step. But that happens in normal body people who can get around easy enough. You can walk into stuff. So investigating like this with the light, I was quite, what the hell? Oh, don't worry. It's just me, my overactive imagination probably. But this is the thing, so would you like to do something for us? That was possible. Because you've got a lot of bush animals around here as well, so you've got to sort of weed stuff out.
Lots of flying foxes out there as well.
Well, I'll just be interesting to see. We'll check this out later on and see if we can find anything. We'll whack it up for you. But that's So we're going to sit here for a little while, do a couple of bit of EPP session. Might turn the camera off, so because you don't want to sit here and watch us go for hours. But that's the thing, folks. If you're into the and you investigate, look, we take it seriously. We have fun with it. I'll admit that. We like to. I mean, we go to sit around here for hours. And we try and enjoy. We don't provoke. We try and get people interested in what we do, and try to get if there is anything about, we want to know they're about. And being yelling at them and demanding shit and all the rest of it just doesn't work.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, as far as provoking, if the ghosts are shy and not coming out, screaming and ranting and throwing things about, it's going to make them probably even less likely to come out. So provoking is, I think, there's no place for it in
not in
investigation.
Not in modern paranormal investigations nowadays anyway. I think it's clownish. Seriously, I don't see the point in it. At all. Maybe if you're doing like a prison or something like that to get a bite, but that's definitely prisoners,
Yep.
But did you hear that?
I missed that one.
Yeah. So there's a lot of weird little noises coming through here, and we don't know if it's actually anything or not. What would be impressive, and that's the thing, if we actually get something moving, we can only speculate, we're in an area that, so how old is this place?
Well, this one dates right back to 1840, so
1840s. I mean, there was people, imagine people just walking backwards or forwards to this. There's got to be some sort of evidence. some sort of history here.
So imagine it's 170 years of history.
Yeah.
You know, leaking out of these walls, so it's amazing.
Yeah. Are you possessed yet?
Not yet.
Okay, just one.
I'll work on it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Just seeing if you're going to get possessed later on. Yeah, I need to know these things. Yeah.
I'll give you notice.
Thanks.
2 minutes.
Just give us another look, Brad. I'm going to be possessed soon, and then we can deal with it accordingly.
Sounds
Okay, cool. Right. How about now?
Not yet.
Okay, cool. Now?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
Getting there.
Getting there? Almost possessed?
Almost.
Almost, cool.
That tap through in that, I was just looking at it for like 20 seconds
Mm-hmm.
and it was just nothing happening. And then all of a sudden it started to drip, 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 drip. And what I was thinking about at the time that I watched it and it started to drip all of a sudden,
You said it's got to turn on.
was that we should ask to see if there are any maids in this area, because Thelma told us there was an amazing story about the ironing board that was just outside the door here,
Yeah.
and that one of the caretakers had come in and wanted to change the sheet on that ironing table
Yeah.
and forgot to tuck it in, but when she turned up the next morning,
But, okay. Yeah, keep going.
when she turned up the next morning, somebody had carefully tucked it all in
back.
for her, but the whole house had been locked overnight and no one
Yeah.
had been through. But considering that, I think Thelma was saying the majority of stories
Yeah.
and the majority of bad feelings that people get, or some kind of paranormal feelings that people get, all to do with that laundry section. It was very bizarre that I was thinking about asking the question in the
Well,
tap
why do we
shop.
ask? Well, we ask a question. I mean, when the maids go, we'll send the ladies here. Ladies, how you doing? What? Follow-up question. Any ladies here then, the staff, and will they come back because they love the place so much? Do you want to make us something? Could you cook us something up for us? I'm hungry, how about you?
I wouldn't mind something.
Yeah, I'd love something to eat. Would you like to cook something up for us, if that's okay, if you've got the time? I really feel like something to eat. Can you whip something up? I'd love a drink of water. How about you turn the taps on over there for us and get us a drink? You have those taps turned on, I'll ship this up right now. But again, we'll cut it in certain sections and speed it up.
Yeah.
So we'll sit there for a while and sort of talking amongst ourselves and trying to get some sort of stop if something happens.
But that tap, I kid you not, I looked at that tap a couple of times over the couple of minutes and there was no drips at all. And then as I was watching it, it just started out of nowhere. Drip, 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 drip.
Yes.
Like someone had just ever so slightly just turned it a little bit, just enough.
Yeah. Can you close on the doors for us? So I'm getting a bit chilly. Can you shut the door? I'm still waiting for something to eat. Pretty hungry. What just went beep, beep, beep?
Maybe
I'm going to check it out.
fridge thermostat. It's got to be something like a fridge thermostat or something that's a regulator of some such.
They do. Dude, something walking around over here. I kid you not, hold that. Spin the camera around. I hear this faint, like footsteps coming through the door.
Yeah.
Weirdest thing. What do you think?
I've got no idea. Well, I can tell you right now, there's definitely nothing visible out there, like a fridge, fridge with a thermostat or anything that could have made a beeping noise. I can't see anything electrical at all out around here.
No, see what happened before was out there checking it out, and I don't know. That's the thing, we just don't know. We heard someone moaning before. Like I said, we don't even know if we picked it up. It was pretty cool though. We definitely both heard it at the same time. We sort of looked at each other. You probably saw that. But Leanne's outside, they're checking there now, but there's just weird stuff, just little things, nothing jumping out at me yet. But little things, I mean, you got to imagine this house is, quite old. You can see by the architecture up on the door here, the whole thing is landed off to one side. That's the thing, it's not what I call really straight, but interesting though, interesting. We've just basically had the shit scared out of ourselves. We're told to listen back to the EVPs, and next minute there's this explosion thing happening. The camera started making funny noise. Oh, look, I have goosebumps. Seriously, check that out. It scared the absolute crap out of me.
A huge, like a big crack, and then the camera. Listen.
Yeah?
There's still crackling coming from somewhere. Is it out of the camera?
That scared the absolute shit out of me. Seriously, I still got freaking goosebumps. Check them out.
It was loud.
We'll just send it. Look, the camera was off. Well, no, look, it's saying, you had the camera off. But no, so we're just listening to EVPs. I turned it off, but the camera was off. And next minute,
right when we were playing, Stockman who died in this area.
It could have, that's the trouble is we weren't. Oh, don't you hate that?
It's always when everything's turned off.
It's always when everything's turned off. I'm seriously, guys. I've got goose pimples now. It was just really weird. We're sitting there going, I just had to fight the fly.
Listen.
Dude, what's that?
It's like something is still...
It's like something's here, dude. Hang on. Was that you before? Did you actually scare us like that? Did you find that funny? Dude, the camera's doing it again.
Yeah, I can hear it. It's like something's electrically shorting in the camera.
But it's still working, but it was all off before.
But everything was off. The mic was off, the light was off, the camera was turned off, and it was like it had a huge electrical short. But it...
That's weird, dude. I've had this camera for years and it's never done that.
And that was loud.
That was loud. We both
really
jumped.
Loud.
Yeah, so, something's burning, dude.
Mm.
Oh, well, basically we're picking up a burning smell coming from, but the camera's working fine. It's
still recording.
It's still recording. It's not overheating. The light's cold. The mic's working. I'm seeing the things on there, but.
It's a definite electrical burning smell.
Yeah. This is weird. Was that you before? Did you do that to us?
The camera just crackled again.
Are you playing with my camera? Are you intrigued by this? So you building up enough energy? Oh shit, I thought I had somebody then.
The hackles on the back of my neck are standing up like there's someone standing in that
Look,
door.
I know we like to joke around on the radio show, but we're not joking around. This is spooky as right now. We've got the lights on.
As we stand next to the table covered in carving
knives. I mean, you got not good. No, we're going to tough it out anyway. This is really cool. Actually, this is sort of. Oh, man, this noise is coming everywhere now. I don't know what to say. I'm stumped for change.
For words.
I don't know what the bang was. It was like and we both jumped. It's our friggin' and we were listening back to this. You know, we didn't want to bore you too much.
It came from the camera, but everything in the camera gear was turned
off. It came from the camera. That's the thing. So our hands are here. Can you spin our camera around for us? Can you do something? Can you move the camera? Look, our hands are here. There's only two of us here. Look, I'll spin it around now. See, as you can see, there is no one here whatsoever. It's just me and Liam and this bloody cord. I'll move it up there.
I think interestingly, just to make it interesting, there's a little spinny wheel on the side of the light on top of the camera, which should be very easy to turn up and down.
Yeah.
So can you turn that one and turn the intensity of the light up and down? Have a play with it.
That's it, like that. So we're nice and bright now. Can you adjust that for us? I'd really be shitting myself if someone stand behind us.
I've got such a gut feeling, like the hackles on the back of my neck are standing up, like there's someone in the doorway behind us.
Yeah, we can't see them, but you ever get that gut feeling you're being watched? Well, that's what we're getting right now. And
it's directly behind us, just around.
Look, just around the sort of touches out. Like, we're a bit freaked out by now. Look, we're not trying to. You know, we run a radio show, for Christ's sake. It's not a paranormal TV show. It's a radio program about pop culture and the paranormal. So we thought we'd do, but this is odd. The lights are on. We had like a big bang noise before that just scared us both. And still recording, so hopefully someone's having a good mocking session at us. You want to try another room? People watching this are going, "Now stay there, you."
I think we stick it out here for a little bit.
For a little bit.
I think we listen back to we only got 15 seconds into.
Well, we're gonna try something. We're gonna. Oh, why did I see that? Light flicker.
Yeah.
Top of the camera. Well, there goes again. Holy shit.
What was that?
I don't know.
That got really intense and flickered like buggery then.
You probably would have seen in the video. We're here and our lights just got. Can you do that again? Can you make it flicker for us? So we'll know you're here. So we're trying to, you know. It's really weird looking at it. You know, You're looking at us, we're looking at the light on top of the camera here, and it literally, you would have seen it got bright all of a sudden. It's just weird.
It's a very easy switch, just flick it up and down.
Yeah,
make that light change.
Hands are here, my arm's not that freaking long. I've never seen it do that either.
No.
We've been using it all night and it's never done that. It's a brand new battery. We only found some batteries in 10 minutes ago. Dude, seriously, that's messed up a little bit.
A little bit.
I mean, it's not like cutlery flying across the room or anything like that, but just little things like that are pretty cool. Yeah, so, I don't know.
Yeah, the big electrical bang and then the light.
Then the lights flickering on top of the camera. See, it hasn't done it again. This is weird. It's a battery's in the back of a mobile light. I don't know what's going on.
But yeah, it's almost a huge power surge.
Surge through it, which is weird. It's just because it's constant. You can adjust it accordingly, but not. It got brighter on.
Well, I think you've got to turn up to full luminance.
I've got to turn on full now.
And it went a lot brighter than
normal. Yeah, so. I don't know. Can you do anything else for us, maybe?
Did you hear the footsteps then?
Okay. We're going to whisper those. We're getting footsteps up the hall here. Light ones. Like small. See, part of the show, radio show, it was to show what we experience when we go. Like, we're not. This is our experiences, you know. Take it or leave it, but this is what we're going through right now.
We're off to a flying start.
We're off to a flying start tonight. I think, oh yeah, cool old location, not much happens. Something's flipping through there too. I'm going to leave the camera here recording. We're just going to go do a loop and see if this does something funny while we're not in the room. I might leave the voice recorder here on the table. We'll be back. I'm just going to grab it. Alright, we're going to leave the camera like this, just sitting here, not looking at anything, and see if it does anything else. So we find it on the floor, we've got a problem, but we're going out for a drink. And you want to face the camera on something else?
I was going to say, what we might do,
Just focus on it.
just put it sort of facing down a little bit so it's on that sort of like eye,
Yep,
eye sort of heady height,
right.
and get sort of all of that stuff hanging there. And while we're gone, there's some lanterns and knives at the end there hanging up above the stove. Feel free to touch them and see if you can make them swing.
Might be a bit hard to see, I might put this light on over here,
Yeah?
if it works. Is that better?
Much better.
Alright, well we're going to leave you now, and feel free to move some stuff around if you like. We're going to leave you alone, and yeah, okay. Well, there you go, guys. I think that's about it tonight. You've seen, you've heard, we had a bit of a scare, as it were. Look, we cannot thank the owners enough for having the Naked Zombie Radio team in tonight. Wodsy had to leave early because he's a skirt, and something about having a hot date that, you know, he'd rather hang out with women than us blokes. Yeah. So there's something wrong there. So anyway, what else? Thank you to John and his lovely wife. Thank you to the owners for having us at this wonderful Belford house.
Bellevue Homestead.
Take 3. Thank you to the owners at
Bellevue Homestead.
Bellevue Homestead. I knew what it was, I'm just tired. It's getting quite late now. Look, you've got to experience a bit of what we do tonight. We've got to go through the footage, and if we found anything, we would have heard it by now because we would have put it on. But if we haven't heard anything, then we didn't pick up anything.
That's right.
Does that make sense? And don't forget to tune into the Naked Zombie Radio Show. It seems to be okay-ish. Ish. Anyway, look, thanks guys for staying and watching our little thing that we've done tonight, and thank you to John and his lovely wife, and also Thelma for telling us the ghost stories and the experiences we've had tonight at this beautiful homestead. Don't forget, you can find locations, go put the details on the website so you can come and check it out for yourself.
That's right.
Beautiful historic place. So thank you again, and we will see you next time on
Naked Zombie Radio.
The Naked Zombie. Take care everyone, we'll speak to you all later.
See you later.
Toodles.